presentation for you guys from our 408 sports mechanics class. I'm going to be discussing offensive rebounds with you guys. Alright, so the purpose of this presentation today will be to address a common injury among female athletes. I'll be addressing the different types of offensive rebounds and also discuss the mechanics of offensive rebound. You're probably wondering why I chose this skill. I chose this skill because rebounds win games. It has been shown that whichever team typically has the most rebounds, they typically will be winning that game. And that's only because, with rebound, you have someone shooting the ball, and then when you go back up that's going to be the rebound. When you go back up to try to score that extra point, 9 times out of 10, you will be fouled. And when you're fouled, you'll get that and one. That's going to mean that you're going to be able to get an extra point, go up to the free throw line, shoot the ball again. So potentially you'll be getting 3 points when originally you wanted to be getting 2, or instead of 3 points you get 4. Also, females have a higher rate of non-contact ACL tear than males. That phenomenon has been studied and has been said to be caused by hormonal differences in skeletal structure, and also improper mechanics when jumping and landing, which I'll be addressing today in this PowerPoint. It's been revealed that the knee in and toe out alignment was the most frequently seen at the time of those non-contact ACL tears, and it's due to difference in muscle strength of the lower extremity, which causes that action to occur. I'd also like to say that I played basketball myself during middle school and high school, and during those times I tore my ACL due to having a non-contact ACL tear. Just from my perspective and just knowing about other athletes that have gone through this, it's pretty detrimental for us. First off, it takes you away from your sport, and just having to be ripped away from your sport for an extended period of time, it does a toll on you mentally, physically. It really sucks. And then for myself, just going through the stages of grief, because since it is a big procedure that goes on, it is pretty detrimental. One of the bigger things that have happened in my life, I went through basically the stages of grief, and I spent a lot of time in the anger stage, depression stage, and also the times that I was able to accept it, something else will occur, or I'd be on the sidelines of the game, and then it'll bring me back to that anger stage, that bargaining stage, and pretty much, being like very depressed about it. But it kind of brought me to a new light, so I was able to see a difference in it, and that's what made me choose the career choice that I'm choosing now. So you may be wondering, what exactly is an offensive rebound? I've said it multiple times. Many of you probably don't really know much about basketball, and you're like, what is that? So an offensive rebound is when your teammate is attempting to score a point, and they decide to shoot the ball, and then when they shoot the ball, they might miss, and then the person that's on that other athlete's same team, they'll go up and they'll attempt to score that ball, and that's the rebound. There are 3 different actions that can be taken after recovering the ball. You can go right back up with the ball, you can decide to dribble out, or you can decide to pass the ball. Those are your 3 options. I'll be focusing on the putback, which is going straight back up, putting the ball back in the rim. During the rebound, the player must first generate force within their legs. This is done by bending the knees and then having a slight bend within the hips. And you're going to push off into the ground, specifically with the balls of your feet. And an arm swing may be incorporated in getting the rebound as well. And with the arm swing, there's a transfer of kinetic energy into the lift/takeoff phase of the rebound. The player could then grab the ball and put it back into the hoop while descending or landing, then going back up. While putting the ball back up while you're descending, that's seen as more of a advanced technique, because typically with novices or someone that's not typically first starting off with playing basketball, they tell you to shoot the ball when you're at the apex or at the highest height of your jump. So when you're descending or shooting the ball, they say that's a bit more challenging for people. So it's typically seen like you'll land and go back up to shoot the ball, and that's what I'll be touching on today. So here we are. We have the phases of the skill. We have the preparatory phase, or the box out, the landing phase, the flight phase, the grasping phase, the landing phase, and then the shooting phase. let's get started with the preparatory phase. Within this phase, the athlete is attempting to get around the defender, and they're going to create space and secure the ball. With that, you have 3 different phases. You're going to step out and in front of the defender. You're going to get up and under the defender's arm, and you're going to create space. This can be done with either using your forearm or using your hip to do so. It's essential that these movements are explosive and big, and this is to cover the most space. You don't want to be lackadaisical and moving slowly because you will get beat. Basically, you and the defender, they're going to have the same idea of creating contact, getting out in front, and to be in that most optimal space. So you want to be swift with what you're doing. So with the step out in front, that's just basically that first idea of getting around your defender, stepping out and in front of your defender. And then with the up and under the defender's arm, so typically with the box out, when you're first playing basketball, you're going to be taught to put a hip on your defender and be able to field them with your arms and follow the flight of the ball so you can see where the ball is going. So with that, with the up and under movement, you'll be able to move the arm out the way, step out in front, and that's why I say it needs to be big and explosive, because if you're lackadaisical and you don't have enough power within these movements, you're not moving anything, you're not getting anywhere, you're not going to make any coverage. And to explain a little bit deeper, this phase of the step this phase and step of this movement is important because it's a prerequisite to being in the most optimal spot. Strength is required to overcome the outside forces of the defender. Like I was saying, they have the same idea as you of getting out in front. And being big it just means to have a wide base of support to increase your stability. Like I said, they're gonna be pushing on you, have those outside forces, so you want to be stable and be able to get into the most optimal point on the court. Now within the loading phase, this phase is essential as well. You're gonna be bending, you're gonna have a bend in the knees, and there's gonna be a slight bend in the hips as well. You're also gonna have your arms swinging posteriorly, and there's 3 elements within this: the knee bend, the hip bend, and the arm swing. So when I'm saying your arms are swinging posteriorly, that's going to be going backwards. This phase is essential because enough force must be generated to counter gravity and the mass of the person to reach flight, so to get up into the air. The arm swing for the standing rebound has kinetic energy that comes from the arms that swing posteriorly, then they come forward, which is anteriorly. The principles of increasing stability, such as lowering your center of gravity, so that's going to be when you bend your knees, you're getting lower, your center of gravity is going to be lowered as well. That's going to be that's going to influence this skill. This is seen with, like I said, the athlete lowers the legs and they squat, and then they are going to be able to exert more force within the ground, and then an equal amount of force is going to be returning to the athlete or from the ground to be able to have a higher potential of energy to jump higher. Strain energy and gravitational potential energy are also involved within this phase because energy gets stored within the tendons and the muscles of the athlete when the athlete is in the eccentric phase of the jump or getting ready for flight. So the eccentric phase would be the loading phase that we're talking about now. And then we get into the flight phase, which is characterized by a push off into the ground by extending the legs and bringing the arms anteriorly. And you have 2 elements, will be the push off and the arm swing. As I've stated previously, enough power and explosiveness must be generated to be able to get off the ground, to be able to grab the ball. Within this movement, there's a 3rd class lever, which would be the forces from the ankle joint when lifting off the ground and landing. The ball of the foot is generating force into the ground, and an equal amount of force is generated back, causing the player to leave the ground. When this shift happens, when this happens, there's going to be a weight shift that goes from, because basically you're going to be flat-footed, and then you're going to shift to the ball of your feet once you're basically in motion. These phases are broken down, but when it's actually enacted, it's pretty swift, a pretty fast motion. You can see it all enacting at once. Later in this presentation, I'll have videos so you guys will be able to get a visual presentation of that. Instability occurs when the athlete is in flight and fully extended, because at this point the athlete won't be able to counter any outside forces coming in contact with them. And then there's also angular momentum of the arms that will be countered with the legs moving posteriorly. Trunk rotation may also happen if the ball is not coming straight towards them, so the angle of the body is manipulated to meet the goal of getting the ball. So basically, I'm saying like if you were to jump up into the air, obviously when you're in the air, you don't have anything to hold on to. You're up in the air. You can't really. If someone bumps into you, you're gonna be shifted. You're gonna move. And also, like I was saying, like moving your trunk while you're in the air or moving your abdomen when you're already in the air. That's more of an advanced technique because typically, more advanced athletes, they'll be able to do that. With novices, sometimes they're a little bit more hesitant to show a little bit more athleticism in doing those types of things. And while I'm saying moving your trunk, so basically if the ball's coming down, not since I descend, the ball's not always gonna come straight to you. It might come over a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, so you're gonna move your body to be able to get there. And that's what I was saying when I'm saying moving your trunk, things of that nature. And that brings us to the grasping phase. So this phase consists of securing the ball in the hands of the player, and there's two elements to this this phase. You're gonna secure the ball and keep the ball high. So within this phase, there's an occurrence of rotary stability, which would be if someone was to jump up for the rebound and then keep a strong keep a strong grip on the ball, and say they were to complete a two-hand dunk, side dunking. That would be them keeping the ball stable, and then keeping the ball within the grips of the players. In the grip of the player, that creates resistance to the ball being tipped or spun. So if you have a tight grip on it, obviously you're going to use the tips of your fingers. You're going to hold on to that ball. You don't want to bring it down, because if you bring the ball down, that's where everyone is. They're trying to swat the ball. Everyone wants the ball. That's everyone's goal. Everyone's mindset when they're on the court. They're trying to get the ball and they want to strip it so they can go and make their point and go on with the game. Here we are with the landing phase. Within this phase, the athlete is descending, keeping the ball high and coming back in contact with the court. The athlete should still have a firm grip on the ball and anticipate outside forces to be enacted on them by the opposing team or defenders. There are 4 key elements within this phase. You have the point of contact with the court, having the knees bent, having a tight grip on the ball, and keeping the ball high. This is the phase where it's believed that many of the non-ACL tears occur for women. So, when landing, the athlete must lessen the forces of gravity to plus their mass by distributing the forces equally, by having a bent knee and having good alignment of the joints in relation to each other. It also is thought that the athlete experiences rebound or recoil because the muscles are contracted, lengthened, then they return back to their normal state once the athlete lands. According to Anderson and Pandy, strain energy stored in the elastic tissues came primarily from the gravitational potential energy of the skeleton at the more proximal extensor muscles were stretched during the downward phase of the jump. Therefore, proper technique is required to be able to disperse that energy that is being stored within the muscles once you actually land. Because if not, that energy is going to have to go somewhere, and if the joints are not properly aligned, that force can be enacted in either one of those joints, or more than one of them, or 2 joints that won't be able to equally disperse that energy and end in injury. Injuries is going to occur if you're playing a sport, especially if you're playing a sport and you are playing you're playing all out, so you're exerting your most power as you can. You're not just there for the heck of it. You're actually trying to meet your goals. Injury will occur, but to mitigate some of that injury and lessen the effects of those injuries, that is why we try to have proper techniques, proper mechanics. So proper technique would look like keeping the knees bent and the hips lowered, and lowering the center of mass, like I stated, and landing on the balls of your feet. You don't want to land stiff leg. When you're landing stiff leg, all of that force either going to go on your ankles or going to go to your knee, and that's going to also cause for a higher chances of your knee to be valgus, to have knee valgus, which means that your knee is going to be going inwards. This inward motion right here, your knee going inwards and your hip outwards and the toes not really aligned, that's really what causes those ACL tears. and for it to be a lot of pressure on the knee anteriorly. Excuse me, a lot of pressure on the knee anteriorly. Back really quick. A lot of pressure on the knees anteriorly. So it's good to be on the lookout for that. So I can't remember if I already said this already. So when you land, like I said, you're gonna have your knees bent, and you want to keep the knees in line with the hips and the knee also in line with the toes. So it's basically a straight line, so you have less of a chance for you to have any of those extra forces to be on the knee. And then we get to the shooting phase. Within this phase, the player's gonna go right back up with the ball in an attempt to score a point. So our two key elements within this is going to be the release point and the finger roll. Like I said, you want to release the ball at the apex of your jump, and that finger roll, that just means that the ball is going to roll. The ball should be rolling off the tips of your fingers. It shouldn't be dead flat in the center of your hand when you're pushing off on the ball. That's not going to create the best arc for the ball for you to be able to attempt to get it over your defenders, because like I said, it's contact sport. Everyone's in the paint. Everyone's right there around you. And they are also trying to smack that ball, get that ball out of the air, get that ball out of the way. So the I can't speak English. The rotary stability of the ball, is increased by the contact point in relation to the center of gravity of the ball and the amount of force applied. So the center of gravity of the ball will be the dead center of it. So if you're basically on the perimeter of that ball, and that's when the finger roll comes in play. If you get a good finger roll on it, you'll get more spin on the ball. The more spin you have, the more likely that if it hits the backboard, it'll be able to spin back into the hoop. That's why a lot of times people say try to hit the backboard, especially if you're first starting out. They'll say try to hit the backboard, hit it in the center of the backboard, it bounces right back. It bounces right into the net. If contact is made on, like I said, the athlete will bounce it off the backboard, and then, like I said, the backspin occurs. And with that backspin and hitting off the backboard, you will get rebound. The ball basically rebounds, hence the name, rebounding the ball. So rebound is when the ball comes in contact with something in that small millisecond or small frame of time, the ball actually changes shape and it rebounds and goes back to its original or normal shape. So now we're going to I'm going to have you guys analyze this really quick. I'll be able to look at someone actually do a rebound. Alright, so we're looking at, we're going to be looking at this guy right here. Can you see that? So we're looking at this guy right here. So something I didn't say is, this is some basketball IQ. Typically, when you're out there on the court, whenever your player shoots the ball, you want to be in the most optimal spot. It's going to be, say if they're shooting the ball over there, the most optimal spot will be over here. Just from typical basketball IQ, you know that if they're shooting from over there, the ball's going to come on this side. That's just something that should be known at the point when you're playing basketball. You should know that. That should just come naturally to know. So as you see, this I believe that's Kobe Bryant playing right there. He is in the front, so you're not going to be able to get the ball on the other side. So you're going to be right there in front of the goal. He's already in a good spot. It's a little blurry right now, but once I get it going, you'll be able to see. As you see, he's already boxing out in front of the defender. You can see the same teams because yellow and yellow, other teams in black or blue, whatever color it is in blue, Denver Nuggets. So let's play that. Alright, see him? His buddy already got the ball, but he's fighting. He's there. His knees are already bent. He's trying to be stable, trying to be strong and explosive in what he's doing. And he gets that ball multiple times. Now, if you pay attention to every time he lands, it's not stiff-legged. He's not stiff-legged. He's landing on the ball with his feet. As you see now, when he's going back up, he's already on the ball with his feet. He's real springy. Landing on the balls with your feet, that's what keeps you springy. If you land dead leg or flat-footed every time, you're not going to be as springy. It's going to take more to be able to get up off the ground. And also, when you land on the balls of your feet, your muscle is as if you're already loaded and ready to go, if that makes sense to you guys. And I didn't talk about landing on a single leg because typically when we first starting out, you don't want you to be like landing on a single leg and things of that nature. Talking about straight basics. And this is a replay of everything. Okay. Wonderful things. And then I have the second one. This is Angela Reese. You guys probably heard of her. If not, I recommend watching some of her videos or watching some of her highlights. Okay. I'm gonna pause that. Boom. This is a beautiful example. Love this. Alright, so boom, we see right here, she's already in front of her defender. Her defender's in the wrong spot, first of all. They're not even nowhere ready to be able to get that ball. She's already boxing them out, putting a hip on her. She even has a forearm on them. That's even better, creating that space. She has her knees bent, so she's gonna be way more stable than, and she has a wide base of support than her defender there. Small base of support, knees are bent, but not in the optimal spot. She will not be able to move Angela Reese at all. Let's watch that. Now, I don't recommend bringing the ball down, but when you do bring the ball down, if you do a power dribble like she did, you're able to power dribble, back it up, you get more space and go back up. The defender's even reaching around her, trying to get around her, but you got a back to, you got her back is to her. So for 9 times out of 10, the defender's gonna foul, you're gonna get that and one, or you're gonna just get the foul, be able to go to the free throw line and get attempt at shooting that ball and getting the 2 points. And that was just beautiful, guys. That was wonderful offensive rebound right there. Dude. Okay. And we get to my conclusion. So like I stated, this is the end of the end. An offensive rebound is when your team is attempting to score a point, and the player attempts to score, they miss, and then the ball is recovered by a fellow teammate. And they go at a second attempt. Like I stated, there are 6 phases within the skill. And they all have their own key elements. You have the preparatory phase, loading phase, the flight phase, grasping phase, landing, and the shooting phase. All these movements should be done, explosive, and I didn't finish that. And when landing, that's one of my biggest things within this PowerPoint. When landing, you want to have your knees bent. You want your knees in line with your hips and in line with your toes, so that it's pretty much a straight line, and that you're not having a lot of knee valleys, because that's one of the main points from the research that I have read. Knee valleys is one of the main points that causes those ACL tears. Gonna be one of those things that cause most ACL tears. And applied sports mechanics can help. So what I was talking about here, everything that I've stated here is sports mechanics, and applying sports mechanics can help in regard of a rebound, because with an understanding of these mechanics, a coach or even just the player themselves will be able to understand where a problem arises when they're trying to learn how to do the skill, or they're trying to figure out, what am I doing wrong? They'll be able to kind of think about it and analyze it, or even if they just record themselves with a video, they'll be able to analyze and see, okay, in this phase here, I'm not really executing things correctly, or just then my knees weren't bent, or I'm landing stiff, or just other things of that nature, just things of those natures. All right, and that ends my presentation there. Was there any questions that anyone would like to ask? With that being concluded, all right, I thank you guys for being a part of my presentation and being a part of my audience here. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys.
Thank you.